You know what really just makes me happy?
What's that?
It's the fact that we don't have to play this stupid game anymore of me having to guess what is underneath your computer.
How did I
Because
know that was
be-
going to be the first thing that you said?
because give me the update. Give it to me officially. I want to hear it. The first
Look at how
time
good I look.
from
You know what? People
the
people
first
just
time.
need to hold on. For the first time, and for people that are just listening on the podcast, just check out our YouTube, please,
Check it out.
because I look great.
The Joystick Chronicles on YouTube. Check it out. Video quality is so much better.
And it's the same camera, just a better system.
It's amazing what
For the first time, I am on my PC.
I'm gonna need you to stop screaming.
Golf clap.
It is a good day. And
It's a
that
good
is
day.
for goddamn sure. Because you have finally solved the issue of your PC.
Let me tell you, you look better. Your mouth and your I can go funny directions there. But your mouth matches your words and your sounds.
Did it not
which is
earlier?
really cool. It's just so much smoother. It's like I'm actually talking to you in person.
That's funny.
Yeah.
Because you've been like pretty normal for me this whole time, but I mean, it's immediately better quality and it's very nice.
It's just overall a lot better experience.
Yeah, I'm excited about this right now, and I'm very happy for you. And for our new listeners, I want you to give me a timeline for how long this has been happening.
Oh.
And what the issues and the solves and everything that you had to go through to get to this point of now finally being able to use your PC. We're on episode what? 31, 32?
33.
33. And this is the first time that you're doing an episode from your PC. That is nuts.
And we started this whole thing with like one of the first few episodes is when I was like starting to build, or like I was looking at going through the PC journey. So honestly, I don't know if I could give you a full on timeline because I don't know when I first started building. It would maybe the beginning of 2020. It had to be the beginning. No, late 2020.
Yeah, I would say is a pretty decent estimate.
I think like September, October, November, around that area is when I started looking for a graphics card, maybe.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I'll give you the most recent timeline. So all right, I've been out of a graphics card because it failed. It failed in December, like around Christmas time, when of course I had all of my time off and I couldn't play my PC because my graphics card failed. It crashed. I was playing The Witcher. It went to black screens on both my monitors. Fans revved up super high, and goodbye goes my graphics card. Couldn't figure out the problem. Took a long time. Was trying to pinpoint it myself. Ended up having to take it to a shop. They didn't really figure it out. They basically said, "Yeah, I think it's your graphics card." I said, "Okay." Ara made that.
I already told you that.
Yeah, to Gigabyte.
Yeah.
Sent it off to Gigabyte. That took a long time. They finally send it back. That's 3 months later. So I get it at the end of March here.
And for those who don't know what RMA means, it's just returning it because it's
just a manufacturer error, manufacturer return.
It technically stands for return manufacturer authorization, but it's just like.
Did you know that off the top of your head?
I mean, I knew it. I had to figure out what the A was, so I did just Google it to make sure I was right. But it's just like sending it back because it hurts. It not work.
Yes, it didn't work. So I get it back. I actually bought another power supply. I had a 750 watt for those that are into PC building. I bought an 850. I probably didn't really need to, but just a 3080 Ti, it takes a lot of power.
It's a beast. Power hungry beast.
So I get the 850. I completely rewire everything to the 850, install that, put the 3080 Ti back in. I start playing again. It's miraculous. I'm telling you, like Call of Duty is so much smoother. Like it's just night and day again because I'd been playing on Xbox. Elden Ring is beautiful. So So before this, I had started playing Elden Ring, and I was on like 45, level 45
Yeah.
with a warrior build in Elden Ring. And so I started to play Elden Ring again on PC. It started a new character. Um, get to like 50, I don't know, 17 or something. And it crashes again. And both my screens go black. And I start freaking out because I'm like, I just got the new one back or whatever, the repaired one. Fans run super high. I stopped playing games because I'm like, I'm not risking another 3-month turnaround on a graphics card. All hail, all praise to our friends over at Micro Center, and thank God I am near a Micro Center
Yeah, you're what,
because
15 minutes away from a micro center now that you live
15
in Atlanta?
minutes. I've been there 2 to 3 times already now,
Bless.
and
I love that store.
took it there. Had just left it. They were backed up on things anyway, so they looked at it this week. They got it back early, and then, man, I'll tell you the experience at Micro Center. I'm not gonna make fun of the people that are there, but they are very knowledgeable. I will say that, like,
They're the
inner
greatest.
nerd, all of the, like, God, they must spend a lot of time doing. I mean, that's what they do.
Hmm.
That's what they do on a daily basis. So, it's kind of fun. I didn't tell you this part, Kev, but like it was fun just like talking shop kind of with them. It's like you kind of feel validated for all the work that you put in to build your own because then you can actually talk about some of the stuff that you had. I was like, so okay, what the solve was I am so dumb, and it makes me feel dumb because I'm very researched about the way I put the whole thing together and making sure everything moves in the right slots. I'd call you, like whatever. Graphics card, I didn't realize my motherboard had 2 slots
Rip.
for the graphics card. I had put it in the lower slot.
Yeah.
Turns out the motherboard, or just in general, most manufacturers, but I guess MSI mainly uses the top slot. That's where like you get the most performance. That's where it draws most of the power from, and it's closer to the CPU.
Correct.
So changed it, put it a little higher, and I also thought I might have had like an overheating problem. That moves it up. Fans have more clearance now. I probably have about that much. Uh, I don't know, 6 inches, and yeah, now it's running great. I installed a new fan because one of my fans was being wonky, and oh, we're gonna talk more about Elden Ring later, but I'm just gonna say that I think I'm already at like a 37. No, I think I'm like 40 already. I'm the new
When
character.
did you start the new one? That's fantastic.
I got my card. I got my graphics card back on 2 days ago,
I love that
I
for you.
think.
Just absolutely grinding. I love that.
Whatever free time I have is spent playing Elden Ring.
I understand it too because it is even now. I mean, I'm level 160 almost. I think I'm like 157. Like
Yeah,
I'm still
that's nuts.
there's still plenty for me to do. I'm still thoroughly enjoying it. There are still things that I want and have to do, but
Hmm.
like I'm now to the point where it's like, okay, I want to get to New Game Plus, but also there are different areas that I still want to explore. So it's like trying to toe that line of like I don't want to be wildly over leveled for New Game Plus, but also like I
Mm.
want to take the time to get a bunch of different things before I start a new game. So
Mm.
we'll see how long it actually takes me to progress because I'm close. There's a couple of like the last bosses that I gotta beat, but other than that, I'm pretty close to getting the New Game Plus. But we will get there. I want to
Wait, I
start.
don't even know what that is. What's New Game Plus?
You start a new game. So it's
Oh,
in Elden Ring. There's the typical game that you start, and then there's New Game Plus, and it goes up to, I think technically up to like New Game Plus 7 or 8, maybe 9. Um, and
Do you start over?
It restarts all of the story, or like all the quest lines. You lose all your runes. Like, you essentially start over. What you keep is your equipment. Any of like your weapon leveling materials, so like your smithing stones, all of that you keep. Um, so yeah, it just essentially resets the story, and then all of the enemies scale with you. So you're not necessarily starting over like back in Limgrave where you're just one shotting everybody. It will scale upwards as you go into more new games, and
Oh,
each boss will continue to get harder after every new game plus that you start.
oh, that's nuts.
Yeah, so it really is like on top of the future DLCs that they're going to be adding, which I'm going to pull up a link because they included a patch, or they announced a patch today, which I believe they also included like new NPCs and like new quest lines in that patch, which to me, if you're adding new content, that's essentially like a DLC. Like, people would pay for that, but they're just putting that in because why not, which is a huge W.
Oh,
So I'm going
how
to look.
refreshing is that?
Yeah, so I'm going to look that up as we're talking to get some more information. We can touch on that later. But yeah, I think the way that the game is set up, it's so that you can play it for X amount of hours and not necessarily get bored, because there's hidden areas underneath like Stormvale Castle in all kinds of places on the map that you can get to that like you may not have found.
Mhm.
Or that, like, for example, in the battlefield where Radon is, that you have to go beat him, all the way in the corner of that, there's a cave. It's like, why would anybody go looking for that? But when you realize it's there, it's like, oh, okay, cool. I can go
Mhm.
clear that cave and go see what's over there. So it's like there's so many things that you can do in the game. I mean, we've touched on it, but like now that you're actually experiencing it as well, there are so many areas for you to actually go and explore.
So I beat Tree Sentinel, and then I just beat Margit, like literally just before we got on here, which
Yeah.
was me clapping and very excited because for some reason that was very hard for me. Maybe I feel like I feel like I adventured more on the last one. Like I've only put a few hours, technically
Mm-hmm.
like 3 or 4 hours into this new game. So like I've done it a lot quicker, so I really do have less like armor and some things like that.
Yeah.
Ashes of
Well,
War that I but
and you think about it, once you've done something once, it gets easier the second time around. So like, even like as like new game plus, you're not going to die as much as you typically would. Like, you could realistically, you could probably get through like a new game +2 or +3 without dying. Like,
yeah.
you could do it. I mean, there are speedrunners who will just do a blank game and go through and beat it without dying. There's a
Okay, I
there's a
watched one that was one level one, literally like they started with the blank character to level 100 in 75 minutes.
so there was a guy today who beat the game in under 7 minutes. Um, the world of speedrunning is wild. Yesterday he did it in 8 minutes. Today he did it in 7 minutes, and
Ow.
it's like the wild west, because there's different categories of speedrunning, and so there's like any percent speedrunning, and then there's like any percent plus glitches. There's like all these different categories. So he
Mm.
was doing like essentially no rules whatsoever. So like, he figured out a way to essentially skip all of the bosses. Like, he didn't even have to fight any of the bosses. He was just able to like skip them all. And his goal was just to get through the storyline.
Yeah,
There's a YouTube video that I'll send you the link to
I
afterwards,
want to
but
watch.
he did it in like 7 minutes. Yesterday was 8 minutes. And like, there's these guys on Twitch, and honestly, like, I've watched a few of them over the last couple of weeks. They're entertaining as all hell, because they'll just go in, be like, yep, I'm going to do this with just a club and a shield, no armor, and we're going to go through and beat the game. And they just do it in like one sitting. I'm like, I've been playing for 75 hours and I'm still getting
Yeah,
killed. So it's like,
yeah.
there's a
That's
for the
fun though.
Souls veterans, they know what they're doing, and it's very
Mhm.
entertaining to watch.
Well, a lot of the fun is just like actually playing the game. I guess their fun is actually creating a speed run and just trying to complete it as quick as possible.
Yeah, they're playing for the content. That's for sure. Um, but it's here. I've got it right here. He beats it. Oh no, I think this is from 2 days ago. Yeah, he beat it today in like between 7 and 8 minutes or something.
That's so
Like
nuts.
that's insane. I'll send it to you later. Um, but yeah, Elden Ring is great, and I'm glad that you are actually like getting to experience it now. And you have your
Now we
PC
need to beat
back,
Godric.
and we're here. Did you beat Godric the first playthrough that you did on console?
No.
No. Okay.
That's where I was at. I was training to beat Godric. I was actually trying to get to that one rune farm. I'm now that's probably gonna be my next thing where the glitch is with the bird or whatever it is that you can get it to kill itself. You know the
That's
one Matt was.
yeah. That's the there's a it's like honestly I think it's like the most well known rune farm at Mogween Palace.
I want it.
But yeah, once you can get to that at a lower level, you're gonna have a hard time killing all the different guys that are on that ledge, the Albinorics, because they're pretty strong, and your weapons aren't gonna do a whole lot of damage against them. But once you get there and at your lower levels, just kill that bird a bunch of times, you'll level up quick.
Yep.
And I'm curious, uh, knowing that they're putting out another patch with some more content. I'm curious if these rune farms are going to be affected by that. I would imagine they would, because the first big patch that they put out, I think it was 1.03, which was like 2 or 3 weeks ago now.
Yeah.
They patched that rune farm where the bird would run off, but there is still like one or two little areas that if you shoot him in the right spot, he'll still run off.
Mhm.
So you can still do it, but it's just a lot harder to do now until you get the actual spot that works.
Mhm.
So I would imagine that they're going to try and fix that a little bit more with this next patch that they've got coming
Please
out.
don't.
Please don't. But yeah, it's I'm excited to see the patch notes. I just looked them up. I don't see any patch notes at all. Um, but I'm curious to read through it just to see what they do. If they're adding things, I mean that's awesome. But if they're gonna be patching other things as well, I'd love to know. So we'll keep an eye out for this.
Yep. Let's see. What else do we have on the agenda? Because I feel like we can talk about a lot of Elden Ring. But I did want to talk a little bit about COD. There's a few different things I want to talk about, but one I will say I am excited. This has been the only time I've been actually excited to play Warzone or just play Rebirth is because now I have my PC back and it runs really smooth.
Yeah.
But you haven't really felt like playing it at all, have you?
No, I'm not gonna lie to you. I've had zero interest in even touching Call of Duty in the last like month at least. Um, I just hasn't been there for me.
I think that like Elden Ring is kind of well, that and like the fact that not a lot of streamers are really playing like actual Warzone now versus like Verdansk. I feel like it's kind of spawning some discussions.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been seeing, I don't know if you've seen this, but there's a lot of like silly kind of buzz and just like conversation on Twitter about should Infinite Warfare make a comeback?
What do you mean by that? Like, are you like
Jet
jetpack
they're
COD?
talking about they're talking about jetpacks, but I've seen several things where they're talking about Infinite Warfare being underrated. Would you agree or disagree that Infinite Warfare was underrated?
Um, I would probably disagree.
I would disagree.
I was never really into Infinite Warfare that much. Um,
That was the one I skipped.
yeah, I really didn't play it a whole lot. And honestly, I feel like Infinite Warfare was the one that kind of like lost me my interest in Call of Duty for a while before I picked it
Mhm.
back up after a couple titles. Yeah,
Did you ever play Black Ops 3? Or yeah, 3.
yeah. Yeah. I don't think I played a ton of 4. I did play it. Um but Black Ops and Black Ops 2 were like, I would say, besides at least in the Black Ops series of Call of Duty, those are the 2 that I put the most time in. Um I mean, I guess Black Ops Cold War I did put a lot of time into zombies cuz I did the dark matter grind, but or dark ether grind, sorry. But just like playing multiplayer, those were probably the 2. Um I just Call of Duty in general, my most amount of time was probably Modern Warfare 2, with COD 4 being a very close
Oh yeah.
second to that.
Oh yeah. I'm wondering what they're
Outside
gonna
of
do with this
Warzone, of
next
course.
one.
I've definitely put the most amount of hours into Warzone. I mean, we're running on 3 years with that game now.
It's insane, but I mean, it's still like, I mean, they've integrated a couple different games into that.
Yeah, which I think is really cool of them to do. It's seeing Warzone as a focus for them, and just in general, in that being like their tent pole title for the next X amount of years, I think is really good for Call of Duty because it's not that through running through that development cycle of introducing a game
A game a year.
while also having been working on a game for months now and having so many different studios that you're trying to manage and
Yeah.
putting
And
out a
the,
game that's not fully polished and all that. It's like it gives you it gives one team enough time to actually spend on releasing a final title while you have enough resources to still put a bunch of time into the game that's already out, putting new content and DLCs into that, and really making that a good experience.
I think the whole integration between different titles was a good idea in theory, and they could do it better in practice later. But I think this was a little bit of a test run and hasn't really turned out because Caldera has really kind of flopped, at least for me. I mean, we could look at the numbers, and I think it'd be pretty indicative of my same opinion. But
Yeah, I would agree. And just even like just being on Twitter and Twitch and YouTube and just seeing the reaction of like everybody wants Verdansk back.
mhm,
Um
so weird.
in the
I
amount
still
of
wouldn't play it.
that's the thing, like I feel like I would go back and play it a couple times just for like the sake of, yeah, it's
It's
cool because it's what we
still the
used to
same.
have. But like
Still the same thing.
it's still the same thing, and I'm still going to be a fan of Rebirth regardless. I mean, I've been talking about this for months where I have pretty much not always, but in I would say like the last year, been more of a fan of just the Rebirth play style than I have of
Mhm.
the other larger maps. So I'd be curious to see if they ever release another map similar size wise to Rebirth. I personally don't think they will. I think they may just continue to make changes to the Rebirth map, but you never know, depending on how this new Warzone 2 is going to shake out. But I do like that smaller play style. Or just give me like game modes where it's just
Yeah.
smaller areas of the main map. I mean,
Mhm.
you see that with Resurgence for those different playlists that they come out for limited times where you are in an already small circle and it's essentially Rebirth on Caldera. And
It's
I
kind
like those
like
too.
it's like a medium size because like you think of like multiplayer and like you wouldn't like the multiplayer maps are like smaller scale,
Yeah, you're essentially
medium to, but like with the Warzone play style, like with the battle royale play style on
yeah,
those maps would work better.
I think the perfect way to think of it would be to do a battle royale playlist on a ground war map
Yeah.
because they're big area, or at least they were big areas of Verdansk. I don't think, um, holy shit, I'm blinking on the what's what's the latest Call of Duty.
Caldera, Vanguard?
Thank you. I knew it started with a V. I was blinking. Um, I don't think Vanguard has any sort of ground war or anything, but when Modern Warfare had it, it was always fun. I mean, it was great to shake things up if you were bored of just regular multiplayer, and this was, I would say, before Battle Royale and Warzone. I would jump into a couple games Ground War just to mix things up, but yeah, definitely, I think it would be interesting to see different areas of the map be dedicated for like a smaller Battle Royale playlist.
Speaking of Vanguard, did you see the number 2 Call of Duty Vanguard player get caught for cheating?
Yeah, it's just for camos though. He's a fucking idiot.
Did you end up reading the whole, like, his whole response?
I read it, but I was really confused because it was just word vomit.
I read the first like 3 sentences, and he was already making excuses, and he was like, "I know it's a dumb excuse." I was like, "All right, yeah, man, like you're right."
I read the entire thing, his apology. It made very little sense. It made my head hurt because the sentences were just like, "This is not English. Like, what are you trying to say?" There was no punctuation, nothing. I was like, dude, please at least form sentences. But yeah, I mean, the number 2 ranked player in just ranked Vanguard, not like any sort of CDL. This is just like amateur status. Is a fraud, and you just hate to see it.
Go watch the video for those who haven't seen it, where you can see his walls.
Yeah.
Get the boxes around players showing up behind walls.
Yeah, and in the video, Yikes. You can clearly tell that he was like, "Oh, I just fucked up."
Mm-hmm.
And
that's with everybody, though.
Yeah.
And did you see Nick's tweet about it?
I did, yeah. And he wants to like do something about it.
I hope they actually do something.
I would love for somebody to come up with some sort of solution. I mean, the anti-cheat I think is a big help. It obviously is not foolproof, and they've said from the beginning that it's not foolproof and it never will be. But I'm curious if there is a better solution, and I have no idea what that is.
I have no idea what that is either, but it's so funny because Apex just keeps getting more popular, and it makes me want to go back and play it.
It does. And what's wild to me, I would just want to take a second and just recognize how impressive it is that Nick Merckx is now competing in Apex and he's just winning.
He's unbelievable, man. Like Fortnite, Apex, COD, just whatever he switches to.
It's just he just puts the time in, gets good at it, and commits to it, and he wins. It's like, what the hell? But yeah, just shout out to that because I respect the hell out of him for it. Because he's proving that he's not just a big personality on Twitch. He actually can put the time in and compete with the best. So
put together some kind of organization with Dr. Disrespect or something and a bunch of the boys and go get after the cheaters. Because it really is, I think, like, to me, I just think the cheats are so well hidden now that I don't know how to, like, I would say that we've been in plenty of lobbies with cheaters that, like, we didn't even know, even if they had like soft walls or like there's just like even just Cronus in general. It's like there's so many different ways that people can cheat. You just have no idea if they are or not.
Yeah,
and that guy's competing in that number 2 guy's competing in tournaments and stuff for CDL or whatever. Like he's competing in major tournaments.
It's hard when, from a competitive integrity standpoint, when you have to trust other people, and the fact that there are so many people who do hide it and they hide it well. I mean, I think this kid who got caught, I mean, even in his apology, he was like, you learn how to hide it. And I was surprised that he even said that. I was like, oh, okay. But yeah, like these guys who are doing it, they know how to hide it. They're not letting anybody else know. And I mean, yeah, they may get called out for it, but they're never going to admit it unless their walls get shown on screen. And then there you go. And you're damned forever. I mean, any thought of a gaming career that he was hoping to have is out the window now. I mean, he's lost all credibility within the gaming space.
So it's brutal, but like I feel like where I'm curious is like some of these top guys, because this would be a perfect example of like one of the top guys that's really good, obviously number two player, like that has been competing in major events and nobody knew that he had hacks. Like there's probably plenty of them that
Yeah.
do. Like,
Yeah. Well, and I mean, for the sake of just saying it, I do want to make the distinction of this is not a CDL player. This is somebody who's competing in
but
just
still,
ranked Vanguard. So it's like
yeah.
I mean, it could be you or I competing in it. So it's your average Joe who he even said like pretty early on that he never streamed, but then once he got ranked high in the ranked, he's like, I started to stream to get my name out there because I realized I was good. But the reason why he was good is because he was cheating. So he probably started cheating before he even started streaming. So the balls
Oh
on that
well.
kid to go out and start streaming is just huge.
The cojones.
I don't respect it at all.
No. Okay, on a lighter note, I've seen like 4 TikToks of this one kid now that
You mean this electric factory of a kid?
He's an electric factory.
I'm gonna pull him up real quick because I've got his profile on Twitch pulled up. He's up
to
like 70,000 followers on Twitch. And I looked on Twitter yesterday. I think he had like 3,000 followers or something. So like he's gaining people, but
the energy, just the straight energy for that kid.
Please just
unbelievable.
Just listen to this really quick. And I mean, he is an absolute electric factory. Pyrotechnics in the background. Like what is happening right now? Hold on, I'm just waiting for him. He's gonna cue the pyro right here.
I can't see it yet.
This is just phenomenal. These are his streams.
See, I'm on a delay, so I can't.
I know, but this is. This is fantastic.
Wait, are you on his live? Like on his stream right now?
He's not live right now. This is a VOD.
Oh.
There's the pyro.
This is unbelievable.
But like, what?
Thousands of dollars in equipment too.
It's like, what is happening?
He's probably using his big brother's equipment. Who's like a promoter at a nightclub or something.
Yeah, I mean, I thought about that earlier too. Of like, he's 14 years old. What? Where'd the equipment come from? But I respect the hell out of him for doing that because he's thinking outside of the box of he's trying to do something that is not something that anybody does, and he has now gotten noticed for it. I mean, the original video on Twitter that blew up, I think now has over 9.5 million views. And it was some guy on Twitter who was like, "Oh, I got killed by a guy in Call of Duty who had Twitch in his name." So I looked at his profile, and he was doing this after each kill. Like that is top-notch content, and that is something that I would watch because
unbelievable.
You look at his stream, every single VOD is like this.
Honestly,
41 minutes of this. His last VOD from 18 days ago is 107,000 views. So it's probably people like us coming in here who have seen him now on Twitter. It's like, what is this kid up to? And this is what he's doing, and it's awesome.
I think I would make it for like. Oh my gosh! I'm yawning.
Big yawn.
I think I would make it for after every win, though.
Am I boring you?
Go play Warzone, and then after every win, so people have to wait for it. You'd start queuing up people because, like, they'd be really waiting for you to go off and see what you had next.
Oh yeah, this would
build up anticipation.
This, I mean, you could get really creative with that too, and like, you could then turn it into like a channel points reward. If somebody builds up X amount of channel points, they can spend them, and they can queue a dance party like that, and you can. If he sets it up the right way, he can automate that.
That's so insane.
To where if somebody redeems channel points, he can have that go off automatically. I would say probably not to do it with the pyro because he should be the one controlling that because flames in a room, I don't know how tall that ceiling is.
And
but the lights and the music and everything, awesome.
Also, can you imagine the amount of irresponsibility there is in Twitch viewers? Like,
Oh my god, you put it at 1,000,000 channel points and just wait. Everyone's saving channel points at that point. I absolutely love that. That is awesome. It's really cool to see just somebody thinking outside of the box. And if that is not outside of the box, I don't know what it is.
Dude, right. Trying to think of anything. Oh.
You
These
you mentioned some games that were getting delayed. So why
yeah.
don't you run me through the list and let's
This
talk
is like
about those.
sad news, but most of it, honestly, so I was reading through this list, and God, there was actually a lot of games that were included on this list, but I looked for the most notable. God of War,
Rip. I'm upset
Diablo,
about that one. Do you know
Resident Evil.
do you know when the next God of War is supposed to come out? At least like the delay.
I think most of them were still 2022.
I'm gonna look it up. God
I'm
of
looking up
War,
right now. Hold on.
Ragnarok. Um, from a May release to an October 11th release for God
Yeah,
of
I
War
see.
Ragnarok. So just a couple weeks. That's not awful. Why don't you look up the Hogwarts Legacy one for
I
me?
know that's what I'm doing right now.
So you mentioned God of War already, which is God of War
Holiday,
2 Ragnarok. Diablo,
Hogwarts.
Resident Evil, Hogwarts Legacy, and Overwatch 2.
I'm really excited for Hogwarts Legacy.
I think it's going to be cool, honestly. And I think I mentioned this in a previous episode where Hogwarts Legacy has a really cool opportunity with DLCs because you can essentially create a brand new game that is focused on, or you're starting, I think, in year 5 of
Hmm.
Hogwarts in the game. So starting in year 6, there's your DLC. And you can
Yeah.
essentially create like a whole new game's worth of content because you're taking new classes and you've got, if the movies say anything, you've got a new defense against the dark arts teacher,
Hmm.
and just like all brand new faces that you can introduce. And you got year 5 as your base game. You got 6, 7, and 8. So you got 3 DLCs planned for that. And then at that point, you just come out with a new game. It's like that.
Dude,
I think it's smart. As it,
can you imagine like Elden Ring, but in the wizarding world? I'm just very excited for it.
I don't think it's going to be like Souls level
No,
gameplay, but I think it's going to be pretty
I don't think
cool.
so either.
It has a lot of potential, and you know what? If it needs a delay to be a polished game at the start, then absolutely I'm on board
Do
with it.
it.
Yeah.
You see what Elden Ring is doing right now.
Yeah, From Software has written the script on
Dude.
releasing a game that is polished and ready to go from day 1, and you don't need those huge day 1 patches and fixing everything and seeing these huge player fall off. I mean, look at Battlefield. Battlefield
I literally just saw a tweet about it. I was going to make that point.
just today dropped below 1,000 viewers on Twitch for the first time. Or no, sorry, that's wrong.
1,000 concurrent.
No, and that's even wrong. It was 1,000 concurrent players on Steam. That's people.
Yikes.
That's people playing the game. That's not people viewing it on Twitch, which is even worse. That is way worse.
What was their budget for that game?
I have no idea. That's something you're gonna have to look up. I would imagine it was pretty big. I mean, they're backed by EA.
Didn't they? Remember, we were like, oh, they said that they were investing like all their resources into it.
Yeah, at one point I think EA had like all of their teams working on Battlefield. And if that is the final product of what you're putting all your resources behind, that's rough. I can see you laughing. What's the number?
So this is just leakers. There's not like an official.
Yeah.
Leakers think that it may have cost EA $2 billion.
That hurts. That hurts.
$2 billion.
Yikes.
Wow.
From that and putting
Wow.
all of your resources towards that to dropping below 1,000 concurrent players on Steam. is tough. And I will say that's only on Steam, so it's only on PC. That doesn't take into account console players.
It's still an absolute yikes for me, dog.
But it is still a huge yikes.
Yeah, $2 billion in that game. That's insane.
So all of these titles, God of War, Diablo, Resident Evil, Hogwarts Legacy, Overwatch 2, and any other title that is delayed, I'm okay with the delay. That's fine. Just when it comes to the release, please give us a finished title. That's all we need.
That would be great. I really don't care if we have to wait. I mean, like, I'm completely okay with continuing to play Elden Ring until you guys drop some other games.
Matt's gonna be on New Game Plus 27, and then he's gonna start Hogwarts Legacy.
It's been a little different because this game, I will say, Elden Ring has been fun to even play by myself.
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun to play when the boys are on and all that, and we can hang out and just play separately but together.
Yeah, I think it's really cool because there is multiplayer within Elden Ring. Like you can raid other people, and you technically can summon somebody else to like fight a boss with you. But like, it's almost like the camaraderie of just like when you're stuck on a boss and you're just like hanging out in a Discord chat and everybody wants to kill themselves because I shouldn't have said that. Everybody is upset. And they are just like going through it. Everyone's going through it together. And it's all good.
That's how I felt. I kept going back and I couldn't beat Margit, and I was like a 40, and I was like, I beat him at like 34 last time on my other character. And I could not figure it out. Anyway, I feel like I would need to smack myself in the head. Like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah. So it's great game just to, chill, playing by yourself, but also when it comes down to just like hanging out with the boys, everybody enjoys it. And then it's like you get stuck on one area and it's like, okay, well, what have you done that I should go do? Like what's the best rune farm and all that? It's like we're just kind of like helping each other figure it all out. So I enjoy it. Very much thoroughly enjoy it.
Well, you got anything else?
No, other than I would like for each and every one of you who are listening to subscribe to the podcast on whatever platform you're listening to. Subscribe to the YouTube channel if you're here watching us. Hello. Very happy to have you. And we're going to have a poll down below in the description. So make sure you check that out before you leave. Give us a like on the video and drop us a follow over on Twitter. Stay up to date with us. And we'll see you guys next week. So thank you for stopping by.
Goodbye.